to say a bit who we are, why we do this, some overview of the program, and then open up for questions and answers about the program.
I'm Kai. I really enjoy working with mediation, both as a mediator, but also doing this program because I love solving problems. And I think the world has, there's a lot of problems that needs to be solved. And mediation is a wonderful way of doing that while learning more about uh, different people, different ways of doing things. So I really enjoy this program for my own learning, but also for the learning that I see that people go through during a year. And Rina is not here, but you can see her, and she's sitting in the Himalayas in India, North India. And with that, who are you, Liv?
Yeah. So for me, I just want to say we just about to end last year's mediation program. And I said that in the session we had today, that I've become a better mediator this last year. And I heard myself saying it, and it was so true that mediation is something that I can grow in and grow through. And that is one of the things that I enjoy as well. Like there's always parts that can be sharpened and deepened, and I do mediation since, I don't know, 30 years. And I've written a few books on mediation and on shame. So for me, also mediation, the more I mediate, like real life mediation, not with NVC people or NVC groups, and the more I am appreciating the NVC perspective on relationships and mediation, but also the more I kind of get how hard it is to learn it and how hard it is to teach it, because it can be so different. I can think that I will, this day when I will mediate, because me and Kai, we mediate between the Sami, the indigenous group here in Scandinavia, and the forest companies, and we usually have a day. So I come there, and of course, I think I can predict what's going to happen in that day. And of course, I'm totally wrong every time because new things appear. So that it's like a mix of being kind of structured and loose at the same time, being kind of knowing where I want to go and being flexible and agile in the way I do it. So that was a little bit about me. And why do we offer this program?
One thing is the skills, and that's where we start. We start with building a foundation of skills. And skills are easy to learn and to practice in the sense that you can do a lot of exercises to kind of sharpen your skills. It's a little bit like running up a hill or lifting weights. You can start with some small weights, and then when you get stronger, you increase the weight, the challenge, but also the complexity. So that is the first part of the training, together with some maps. Because if you only have skills but don't know where to go, you don't have the direction, then it can be overwhelming and confusing. But if you have a map, you have an idea where you're going, and then you have skills to kind of move towards or through the challenges, then you're already well equipped. But that's not all, that's just the beginning. So what's the next step, Lee?
Well, it's also why we offer this program is because we see that it's part of human life to have conflicts. It's like it's going to be there in one or the other form, and we know that we can act differently. We can learn how to be more helpful in those conflicts. And to me, it's one of the most meaningful things to spend time on, to actually work on those those skills and those perspectives. So it's not like some people have conflicts and some others don't, but actually everyone.
And then some people join because they want to deepen their NVC practice. And practicing mediation is actually one kind of good way, because you will soon notice your strengths but also your weaknesses, so you know how to balance it all. Because in mediation, it's not enough to being able to empathize or to be warm. You also need to be brave, and brave means you need to interrupt, you need to be direct, you need to pull people by the ears, you need to do things that are uncomfortable. So doing that with warmth and also remembering where we're going, like the direction and the purpose of mediation. So it's like juggling with 5 tennis balls. Like most people know how to do 1 or 2 or maybe even 3, but we'll do 5, maybe 6. So that's why we also need a year to build up to that kind of the complexity of it.
And we also offer this program because we think it's of value, maybe especially at this time in human life, to be able to see cultural differences. And this group is doing that just by being international. We'll see that there are differences. Some struggle with English, some struggle with taking space, and so on. So it's there's also that part, sometimes quite in the background, but sometimes up front.
Because if you're a mediator and you get clients, you can choose like, oh, I only want clients who talk like me or think like me or look like me. So being having differences in the group also helps us prepare for different ways. Some people talk fast, some are slow, some have an accent, and that create challenges. So that's actually perfect, even though it can feel awkward because not everyone is the same kind of.
And then the last thing is, because we think actually conflict can be fun. It can actually sharpen us. It can make life more kind of on edge, not just avoiding it. And then Kai said before that we're going to present different maps for mediation, for dialogue, and that we have seen has supported us, and hopefully that is for others as well. And skills we talked about, that there will be different skills. NVC practitioners tend to have an overuse of the empathic listening skill. It's like we always pull that tool out of the toolbox, and that can actually be problematic. It will not create this kind of balance and forward movement sometimes. So we want to have more skills than that.
Yeah, and the map help us have direction, and the clarity helps us kind of see more clearly in every moment more options. NVC practitioners know about key differentiations, and they are very helpful because you can, if you have clarity about them, you can also lend them or help point that to people, so people have more choice in how to handle the challenges that they're at.
So we work directly with key differentiations, both like trying to find them, trying to look at it afterwards, what key differentiation was not cleared out and maybe got in the way, and directly working with it as well. And for some people, it's really good aha moments when you get clarity as well as the skill. And then we
Yeah,
work with the trust. Do you want to
exactly.
say something
The-
on that?
yeah, so trust, we don't see trust as just, it's not like a feeling that just happens, but it's something that we can create and we can destroy it kind of. So there's a lot of choice about that, and so having that lens to see how is trust created and how is it not, then we can also understand why people get into some difficulties, but we can also see how we can repair and help people with the trust.
And then, of course, as I'm a person that has fallen in love with shame, vulnerability, and how much that influences our relationships, our connections, that will be a big part of it also. Like knowing that if people come with a conflict where they have done something, they might feel shame of it, or they might feel ashamed of the other person, or they want to shame each other. So knowing about this, how it affects, is super helpful for mediators, I would say.
We have seen over the years, because we've been doing this work for a very long time, that perspectives are a big deal of conflicts, because depending on where we stand, we will see different things, we will assume different things, and we will interpret things differently. So being able to understand and navigate perspectives and the priorities that come with them, that is a later stage in the training, because it can be for some really challenging and for some interesting and everything in between. That's also one part, kind of. And to kind of summarize it, we're actually offering a cake, a mediation cake. So the training is, we have the map as the foundation, and then we build the skills on the map, and the skills we call the mediation hand, and then we layer the key differentiations. So you can see how we kind of, these all build, and then trust. Trust is created in many different ways. So we see that trust is not like one layer, but it's like a ingredients in the cake that holds everything together as well. That's one way of, in 2 minutes, saying what we're going to do for a year.
Travis is in the program this year, so you have someone you can ask to check if we're lying or if we're making things up. And Jenny will be a part of assisting us.
I'm working with NVC in the workplace a lot. And what I'm interested in is really mediation in the workplace, how to navigate mediation with power differences, how to do group mediations, because I can't find anything about this actually, especially in the NVC field. It's not that there's so many material around that, and I would be very happy to know if this is a topic that we can address.
Yeah. Do you want to answer, Kai, or you want me to go?
No, you can start, and I'll add if there's something.
For sure, NVC in the workplace, there is space for that. And how this is set up is we do practices when we meet, and then you'll have a smaller group to work with to apply all of that and to practice. And in that group, you can do a lot of different, well, cases and subjects like that. So that will for sure be covered.
And just to add on the group thing, we like, if you teach nonviolent communication or any subject in a room when there's more than 2 people, then you will actually mediate at some point. But we don't call that mediation. We call it facilitation, because we're there to learn, but we're actually doing the mediation thing. And one very clear memory is when me and Liv, we offered a relationship training for 2 days. So there were, I think, 8 or 9 couples in the room. And we spent our time mediating for 2 days, because it was always like because the partner was there. So whenever people spoke, they would react and like that. And so the group mediation is actually more common than we might think, like in a family, for instance, or like that. And then in our workbook, because it has, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 cases that we practice on, so we don't need to think about situations, so we have a lot of materials. And I think a handful of the cases are when there's more than 2 people playing roles. So it's also, but it's a little bit dry. It's for the dry practice, so to say, to build the skill set. And then when we feel comfortable with the skills, then we start to, free flow, and that is exciting in a different way. And the power differences, not everyone see power differences. You might have noticed that if you meet people, some people can talk about that, and for some people it doesn't exist. They don't really get it. So that is part of the understanding perspectives and developmental levels, so to say, that from some place they don't exist. We're all equal. And for some perspective, we can see the differences. And then if 2 of those people meet, it's like 2 worlds are colliding. So that is like quite important to understand that some things are visible, but not for everyone. Um, Same with the vulnerability. Some people see vulnerability as something beautiful, something to be included, and some people have an opposite view on that. So how do we navigate that so we don't force our own view on people? So yes, we will work with power differences, but it's also
In
dependent
the
on,
mediation. Mhm.
yeah, but it's also dependent on you. Like if you see it, you can work on it. But if you don't see it, you can't work on it. The step you need to do first is to see it.
It can impact the mediation, to acknowledge that it can impact the mediation, and how to rebalance a little bit, if it can be,
Yeah.
the differences. I'm very interested in that because, of
Yes.
course, I've only done 5 days of mediation, so I do need
Yes.
to sharpen my knowledge around that. So I'm very interested.
So now I want to check with you, Travis, who just went through most of it. Are we truthful? Are we answering in a truthful way? Or do you want to out us in some way? And welcome, Rena.
Fact checking.
Arena. No, it sounds accurate to me. It's nice to, like, having just gone through the year, it's been so much. I feel like it's such a thorough training, and there's so many components to it, and it's nice to kind of go through it and go, oh yeah, we did learn about that. And yeah, it's kind of amazing to see it from my perspective now, having gone through it for the last year. I appreciate that there's two aspects that have really stood out for me. One is like I said, the thoroughness of the training and the step-by-step approach. Like you're really learning skills from the ground up. And then, as you get into more of the middle of the training, you're really combining those skills, and you sort of almost surprise yourself at like how your skills kind of come into action. And I think that's because, you're really the year long, focus, intense. Like I feel like every session you're really, especially at the beginning, focusing on particular building blocks. And weeks that stood out for me were definitely the focus on shame. The focus on bias has been really helpful, noticing when you might get biased towards one person or the other group of people. I found it really helps with enemy images, and I've noticed now, I myself came into the training because very afraid of conflict and sort of, hiding under the covers when there's conflict. And I notice myself now having a lot more curiosity when conflict. I mean, it's not that I don't feel fear, or still feel like a little bit like, whoa, but I kind of go into it with a lot more curiosity about what those people might be going through. Um, and it feels, yeah, just really meaningful, to have that kind of experience, that kind of transformation. I would say the biggest learning for me has happened in the integration groups. I mean, obviously Kai's and Liv's presentations are wonderful and you learn a lot, but really the most learning happens in the integration groups, where you really get to put it into practice. And it just, there's just so many opportunities to, like Liv said, take on different situations, and people bring in all sorts of scenarios they want to work with in terms of family or work or legal issues or societal issues or things like that. But I would say just the role plays and the integration groups are really powerful. And I've experienced a lot of connection with other people and have a little group that um, feels very tight at this point, but also just the amount of learning is really amazing. And I think the last thing I would say is, get ready for some jokes. I think Kai's a good joke teller sometimes, and
Only sometimes.
but seriously, I mean, there is. I really. It seems like a small thing, but for me, sometimes conflict, maybe in general, conflict can sometimes feel heavy or serious. And I think the humor, there's lots of humor built in and jokes. And not to say that we don't take the topic seriously, but just I think there's a sense of some levity and lightness mixed in that has been really helpful for me, especially nowadays where everything is just, yeah, life is getting more difficult. And so I've appreciated the humor a lot.
Great.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and to me, that humor is also helping with the lightness is helping with the learning, not taking
Definitely.
away the tension, but to kind of not be so serious about ourselves. Thank you. I wrote in the chat that one of the most common celebrations that we hear after the program is that conflict is not scary anymore, or it's more interesting. We're more curious about it, and that we can hold that and even go towards it because there is skills. It's like one of the things that people write.
Yeah, and maybe the last thing I would say is I would encourage you to. I think one thing that's really great about the training is you can take risks. Like there's a lot of opportunity to take risks, or I forget who said it, maybe it was you, Johanna, but like if there's a situation that you're finding really difficult to work with, you can bring it to your integration group and just get a lot of support around it. And so it's really a great opportunity if you have really thorny situations or just to take a risk and try it out and know that you're going to be supported by your group in that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to
Thanks,
invite
Travis.
Rina to say
Bef-
hi. Yep.
Before we do, I just add to kind of close the loop of the nice things Travis brought up, that in mediation, we are talking with adults, like most of the time, and that's pretty much what we practice. And same in the group, we're adults. And when we learn as adults, there's a challenge that is very different than when we learn when we're kids. Like most adults, we see ourselves as capable. And that creates a challenge. It's hard to learn when at the same time I want to be seen as capable. And that is the same in a conflict. If we meet, people want to be treated with a certain quality of respect and dignity, and still there's things we need to learn and handle. So that aspect is also like a hidden learning. But how do we relate as adults and still learn and acknowledge that life is really difficult? Like to be human it's difficult. Yeah. So that is also something that I find interesting to remember, and sometimes I forget that it's not kids. It's not like I can tell people that they should behave or that they should obey or something. But how do we relate? Juggling that challenge. Treating each other with respect and acknowledging that we don't know everything. And how do we learn? So I think. I just get goosebumps just saying these words, because I think that is an important key for good relationships, to balance those things. But it's not easy. So yeah. Now I'm done. What did you want to hear from Rina Leave?
I wanted to hear who she is and what the mediation program is for her, and whatever she wants to share. Welcome.
First of all, sorry for the delay. The other meeting went on longer. And yeah, I'm so happy to be on the team with you, Kai and Liv, for the 4th year, I think, on this mediation program. And I'm learning constantly. At the same time, I am able to bring the richness of my context, the cultural context, the larger engagement with the world and immediate family and, so all that. So it is truly, I see each group is truly a diverse international group. The learning journey is quite international, and so many layers open up through the year. So I enjoy that it's a longer journey, though it's online. Sometimes people who are in the same region can also meet and practice in person. But even through online, we have managed to, as you said, I was happy to hear Travis saying that the integration group is also a safe space where you take the risk and you're really growing and learning. The network that we are over the years, that we are so many now mediators who are out already in the world and now coming together through this program is really heartening. This is where I bring my overwhelm when I feel so disheartened with where the world is going. This is my space for inspiration, for recovery, truly, and it's continued learning. I loved that in my own thing. The second part is that my relationship with a conflict where I would jump in and make a bigger mess from my righteous space, from the right wrong space. And over time, the recovery is faster when I catch the inner bias or my overwhelm, with obvious wrongs. But I am able to then put the lens of developmental stages and perspectives that I can now see the conflict and the person in the conflict from their developmental stage, which is not judgmental, but it is more humane, and then the recovery, the engagement is more life serving, So that is an added skill that has been, enriching.
Mm.
Yeah, and I see the benefit of that in real life situations. So what I'm saying is that my relationships are improving, and I'm constantly surprised by new pathways in the relationships, which are otherwise quite stagnant and quite, the habitual thing. So that was the second thing. The diversity, the personal growth, and a sense of togetherness as a community. Yeah.
Thank you, Rina. And Rina is usually a master of the integration groups that we call the smaller groups, like being the spider mom who is taking all the groups, trying to fit them together, and if something breaks apart, that needs to be shifted and so on, and jumping in when a group needs support, and all of that. So it's
making
great.
sure that the warmth in terms of empathy and the courage, like safe enough to take healthy risks, is kind of also the environment is sustaining that for each one.
Great. And then we have, for the program, we also have a few assisting persons, like people that kind of assist in different ways, jump into groups, and Jenny is one of them. Do you want to say something? Jenny has been supporting us in different programs through many years. But do you want to say something about yourself, Jenny?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've just recently taken part of the Reimagine program that you finished earlier this spring, and now I will support in this mediation program. And for me, if I'm serious that I actually want to see a difference in the world, that I really want peace, I do need to put it into myself in every small interaction that I make. And when I look at, I have it in front of me, just as you, Travis, the mediation map. It's like it's a very small micro image of peace, where we divide the space between us. And me, who is situated in a academic context where I study peace and conflict resolution at the university, it's very theoretical. And what we do in this mediation program, which I participated in a few years back now. I don't remember, 2023 maybe, I don't know. We are presented a way to live peace hands-on, and I need that when I come from this very theoretical background that I have with me. So that is the great benefit that I see from my point of view or perspective at the moment.
Thank you.